Oh, it's good? Ah, Ameen. How are you? We have a very full physical distance house for opening night tonight. So thank you for sharing your film with us. It was a real honor to see it on the big screen. Are you on mute, or is it on our end? Nope. Sorry. Just so everyone knows, it's 4 a.m. for Ameen, so we really appreciate him joining us at this ungodly hour. Just like the film, you said 4 a.m. to make breakfast for the kids. Yeah, it's we need to be making breakfast for you, Ameen. There you are. We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Can we raise the volume a little bit? So thank you so much for being with us. We really love the film. For those who are watching live online, just so you know, you can also type your questions into the chat, and we will be taking questions from our live online audience. So give those questions some thought and send them to us, and we'll be sure to try to get to a few of them. So, congratulations on the international success of this film. For those who don't know, this is Ameen's first feature film, and it's toured the world. Yes, a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it was in Venice and Alguna and kind of everywhere in between. And we were really thrilled to have the Canadian premiere of this film. So I wanted to start off with a question. In the synopsis for the film, you mentioned it is based on a true story or inspired by a true story. So I was wondering if you could just give us a little bit of a background of how did this story come about, and how much of it is true and how much is fiction, and where is that line?
Yes, so thank you for coming to watch the film, and thank you for your very kind words. This story actually, like the motivation to tell this story is because I lived kind of the same situation. I don't have kids on the other side, but half of my family are on the other side of the wall. My mother comes from a Palestinian village in 1948, and since the wall was built, it became like they live on a different planet. You know, I was still a kid, and I could no longer see my grandparents, my uncles, my cousins, my childhood friends, and I had to grow up with this feeling of separation. And growing up also, I heard many stories, many stories. So this is a collection of my personal story and stories that I happen to know. So it is not fiction, I would say. It is just a reflection of real life.
One thing that was extremely striking about the story is, the authenticity it felt. We really felt we were we were with you on that journey, or with the characters on the journey. Can you tell us a little bit about the locations where the film was made, how it was made? And were those actual sets, or were those real checkpoints and sort of scenes from the wall?
You know, I always feel happy and proud when people talk about authenticity because we paid lots of attention. I paid lots of in the writing itself, and also when we shot the film. Yeah, I also want to say, like, not just the locations, but also the characters that you see in the film are like real. Well, they are not like real people; they are actors. But this is a real journey that could happen today. And about the locations, it's yeah, we shot on real locations in the West Bank. Most of, like, all of the film, except few shots that were shot on the other side without me because I don't have a permit. But everything was shot in the West Bank and at real checkpoints. How? That's a different question, but you want to know how?
You can tell us how if it won't get you in trouble.
Okay, no, no, fine. So look, we shot at real checkpoints at like the crossing gate where thousands of workers cross to work in Israel, and you find the watchtowers, you saw the wall, you saw all these places. So these places are under the control of the Israeli military, and you cannot, as a Palestinian, say, we need a permit to shoot here to talk about the the wall. So we did not apply. Like I don't know how if it is possible to apply for. I think you need some like Israeli paperwork, which I wouldn't get. So we shot anyway. We went to the locations. We had a good plan, not to be there for longer periods and to try to be in a smaller number for the crew, and it worked. Thankfully, I think we did. I did a short film before 200 meters, and in the short film we made all the mistakes that we did not do in the feature film.
Well, that's amazing because we really, if there were any mistakes, we did not see them in the film. So I think you did a fabulous job. And so does the audience.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, as we mentioned, this is your first feature film, and could you talk about a little bit of the process or your experience as a full-time as a first-time filmmaker, a Palestinian one as well, and the obstacles or the opportunities you had in creating this film and then releasing it?
Yeah, actually, the obstacles were, yeah, it was very difficult to be honest. I first wrote the first draft in 2013. I thought it would take a year or two, but it took 7 years, 8 years. And yeah, it was, like the biggest obstacle, I think it's funding. As a first time director, to convince producers or funds or whatever that I have the ability to tell this story, that was a big challenge, and it took this time. And at some points, I almost gave up, except that my producer, she was persistent and telling me, "You have to do this." So yeah, that it was not an easy journey, to be honest. And I think also the success of the film is because, yes, it is a personal story, and I think because I communicated this, like how important for me is to tell the story to my crew and to people that I was working with. And so therefore the like Ali Suleiman, which you saw his performance in the film, and also the director of photography, they gave their maximum. Actually, they gave more than their maximum because they believed in the project and they really wanted to push it to its to to its limits. So I received lots of support actually when we were shooting the film. So I will be always grateful to the efforts of everyone who helped to make it.
And that's I think one unique thing we've seen in Palestinian cinema is how first time filmmakers or new filmmakers are able to work with experienced talent and others that are very much experienced in the filmmaking process. And the funds might not be there, but the support is, and it definitely showed up on screen. And Ali's performance is really outstanding. So tell us maybe a little bit about then, going to Venice and, showing the film to an international audience. One thing I do appreciate and love when I watch a film here at TPFF is, I love being the space with others in our community and our allies and our friends, and hearing them laugh at certain lines and responding to certain comments and jokes in a free way, and not in a way where you're like, oh, I don't want someone to think I'm laughing at the wrong times, or like we all get it. Can you tell us a little bit about the experience, going to Venice with this film, or in Alguna or elsewhere, and what are the expectations or what are the presumptions people place on you as a Palestinian filmmaker, or assume from you as a Palestinian filmmaker?
Well, thank you. Actually, going to Venice was something like this film. because I went together with Ali Suleiman, but he lives in Nazareth, from Nasri, and he has access to travel from Tel Aviv airport. I don't. So for Ali to go to Venice, it took him 6 hours. For me, it took me 36 hours.
Wow.
I had to travel for a day and a half just to because I live in the West Bank and I don't have access. This is, I think, it's this, and I said this when I was in Venice to many journalists, and yeah. But when I was in Venice, actually, also, I don't know if it's funny or surreal. It was the first time that I watched the film on a big screen. So I had the first experience as the audience because we finalized everything for the post production during the lockdown. So I could not be. I was like this behind my laptop, working on music and coloring and sound design, and it was the first time I see it on a big screen and the first time I hear the sound mix. So I was, I was worried, like how it will. I was not sure about how things will play, but it was a very emotional screening. I think it was one of the most emotional days in my life. I cried. I cried really. At the end of the Thank you. And yeah, it was Venice was very emotional for me because it was like I saw the outcome of all of these years. And in Laguna Festival, I I passed the emotional state, and then all in Guna, because it is they are, I think, closer to the story as Arab audience, so they were more touched by the story, and I saw more tears and more people crying. So yeah. And about your question about what people expect from me as a filmmaker, well, I don't know what they expect. I think I can tell you this. I think when somebody sees a Palestinian film with this premise of a wall or occupation, they would think that I am here to complain. And the good feedback that I received, even from Palestinian audience, who thought that my film would be just showing Palestinians as victims and etc. Uh, they found the opposite. They found it very, very different from what could have been expected.
Yeah, I mean, I think people wouldn't expect there to be funny moments, and we laughed. We laughed at a lot of parts in this film,
I'm happy.
and yeah, and and it was also a love story. And again, the expectation is, oh, it's Palestinians don't have love stories, and we don't tell jokes, and you really exemplified that the humanity, and you brought the humanity out in the situation, in the story, while highlighting the absurdity of daily life. So before I turn it to the audience, I see a couple of hands. Do we have? Oh, I see your very, very excited hands. So I see a couple. So I'm going to. So if you can just hold on, and I'm going to see. Do we have any online yet?
We have a couple online as
Oh
well.
wow! Okay,
But let's take in person, and if they can scream, I can repeat it.
Okay, sure. So I'm gonna. I see this one first, and then yours second, and then we'll go to the online audience. If I missed anyone over here. Oh, and we have a third one over here. So we'll do those three, and then we'll take to the. Okay, so shout your question, and sorry, at COVID we can't hand out mics. Excellent question. Should I repeat that?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so the audience member congratulated you on the film, and he was asking about the four characters in the car, and he was really moved by those, and he was wondering how did you select those characters, and and their kind of their backstories.
Well, yeah, that was I I wrote eight drafts to come up with, to finally arrive at this one, and they changed. They were not like I think in like what I was looking for, I was looking for like real people. Like these are real people, you know. And I was trying to find the right background for each one. And I was just always speaking to people. I was always like when I was at checkpoints, I would just I was always hungry to know stories, to know what is happening, who who is going where he's coming from, or their backgrounds. So this is a collection. Like I was always asking and writing notes and just paying attention to finally come up with this select like to select these specific characters. So even the, the guy with the ponytail, the hipster, and and the German character. These are real people that I happen to know personally. They went on this smuggling journey to make a documentary.
I have a lot more questions about those too. Okay, this was the second question.
So this was a Palestinian film about Palestinian experience by a Palestinian cast and a Palestinian director. And my understanding is that it was Jordan's submission for the Academy Award, for the 93rd Academy Award. So my question to you, where do you think filmmaking in Palestine will reach a place where we can submit on our own and we don't have to do it through foreign states? And my second question to you, because of your presence in the West Bank, have you ever considered making a film about the torn identities of Palestinian Jordanians? I'm sure you know the whole "Are you Palestinian or Jordanian?" that struggle of identity. And have you considered making a film about it?
Okay, so just to recap, the first question was about the fact that you're a Palestinian filmmaker, the cast and crew is Palestinian, but the film was submitted for Jordan as Jordan's submission to the Academy Awards. And the second question is, would you ever consider making a film that talks about the the double identities of Jordanian Palestinians?
Oh, that's interesting. So the Oscar submission, actually, we reached first for the Palestinian committee or like Ministry of Culture. We applied and they selected Gaza Mon Amour. I don't know if you know about this film.
It's our closing night film, ironically.
Yeah, so they chose Gaza Mon Amour to represent Palestine. And then because I have a Jordanian passport, as many Palestinians do, and also Jordan was part of the production, like they were part of the production countries. And so yeah, we applied to Jordan and they selected it as the country's submission. This is how it happened. Yeah, and about talking about Palestinian Jordanians, it is in my mind. It is in my mind actually, because I lived in Jordan in my childhood, and then I went to study there. So I studied filmmaking in Jordan, and yeah, this is something. Also, I have the double nationality, so I don't know the story yet, but it is something that I would definitely like touch in the future.
All right, we'll stay tuned. So we had one more question before we go online. Yeah. Okay. So the question is in regards to the German character and what was her role in the film? Was she there for drama or dramatic effect, or was she representative of something more?
Both actually. She was. Do you want me to be honest?
Yes.
I think they
So
said
when-
yes.
Yeah, of course. Actually, when I the first two drafts, she was not a girl. She was not a German girl. It was an American photographer guy. It was in my mind from the beginning that I wanted to have a foreign character in the film to ask certain questions or to answer or to raise certain question marks about things that Palestinians would not talk about, just because, the situation is already complicated, and there are things that I would want to explain to a foreign audience or to an international audience without having to explain it through two Palestinians speaking to each other. That was my initial idea. And then this character was it felt that it was just a navigating tool. It was not working. Until I happened to know this story of the German and the Palestinian traveling together. And I was like, this is interesting. But how would it play in my film? And I started to test it, and it adds to the drama, of course, and it is symbolic, I think. Everyone can see it in a certain way. And also, there were many things, many layers that I wanted to play with. For instance, how her acceptance in the group keeps on changing based on what they think about her background. Is she German? Is she Palestinian? Is she Israeli? Every time there's a different reaction, regardless of her, of who she is, but just of who she belongs to. This was one thing, and I can go on.
You can make your own additional interpretations as well, I think, right? I have a few of my own too. Okay, so let's go online, and maybe we can take a couple at a time.
Yeah. So the first question is, what were some of Ameen's favorite scenes to shoot?
Favorite scenes. Favorite scenes. I think it was a difficult shoot. I don't know if I had a favorite scene. It was very difficult. Everything was just. We shot in 35 locations in 22 days. I don't know how we managed to do that. But I think what I enjoyed maybe was I don't know. I really don't know what was my favorite scene.
That's fair.
That's totally fair. We love them all, so not to worry.
The second question was, what is Ameen working on now? What is next?
So I'm working with, actually right now, why I am awake also. It's not a big project, it's a small documentary about agriculture revolution in Palestine.
Can we please have that when you're done?
Yeah. It's a short documentary about this movement of farmers. It's an interesting thing. But what I am working on is, again, with my producer, Mayodi. She optioned a script about a Palestinian boy. The story happens in 1974, Lebanon, and it's about his dream of becoming a football player. It's a light comedy drama about this boy and his dream and what he wants to become, and how it gets interrupted by the start of the civil war, leading to the Sabra and Shatila.
Oh, wow.
That's one project.
One more? Do we have any last minute? We'll take maybe one more from the audience if there is one. I could try to. Do I see a hand somewhere? Oh, right there. Oh, and one there. Sorry. The audience member would like to know the stories behind the mistakes in the short film you were talking about, and what lessons did you learn?
Okay. So with the short film, we shot on the same location at the checkpoint where we saw Mustafa going to work, cross to work in the morning. It was night even. It was not in the morning. It was 3 a.m. So in the short film, we were at the same checkpoint, and we did not pay attention that we were so many. And also the boom man, he extended his boom to the maximum, and we were so like obvious, a film crew. And we thought that they would not care, but they cared and they came, and we had to like run away actually because because they can just take the camera or take the memory card or take the cameraman or and you will just you cannot like you will lose material, you will lose money, you will lose time, and so yeah, we lost time
Oh.
that in that instance. And we came back again. We did not plan it well, and then the next day we said, okay, we'll do it the next day. The next day, it was a Jewish holiday that we did not study. We did not know, and it was closed. There was no one, and how come there was no life? It was like empty. Yeah.
That sounds like the premise of another film, actually. Okay, I saw one last hand up at the top. I know someone's been pointing that they've been. Yep. So the question was, when the credits were rolling, the audience member with very sharp eyes noticed a lot of people had the same last name as yours. Um, is this how you saved money on the film?
Yes, and also I worked with I don't know, maybe because I did the casting myself. I did not have a casting director, and when I was like writing these characters, or when I started to think of of actors, I knew some of these roles were very easy, like with 2 or 3 lines, and I know these like members of my family. I thought they could do it, because it is kind of things that they do in their real life. And I approached them, and they said yes, and I was like, okay, why not? Come and see how I work. So yeah, but also the, the kids, the 3 kids, so the boy and the 2 girls are my nieces,
Oh.
and yeah, it was I made the choice to work with them because I am their uncle and they know me, and I don't need permission of some parents. I just took them to the set. And, they were also like I did many like small videos with them with my small camera, and they especially the eldest girl, she was really good, and she was like a professional actress. She waits for her call, and she comes when she finishes. She leaves the set. Yeah.
Well, it has been a true joy and pleasure to open the festival with your film tonight and to have you with us, on Zoom. We wish it was in person, but hopefully with the next one we can bring you to Toronto. But it was a real joy to have you with us, and thank you for taking that time and being up so early or late, however you define it.
Thank you.
To be with us and talk to us a little bit about the film. Alf Mabruk, and inshallah we will see you in Toronto.
Shukran, shukran. Thank you very much. And this is not my room. I don't live here. This is a hotel room.
It's a hotel room, yes. He's not. We didn't find him in Costa Rica. This is a
Yeah.
hotel room in France, I believe, with the toucan, and makes for a great Zoom backdrop. Yalla tasbih ala khair, and thank you so much. And we will definitely be in touch. We look forward to your other films.
Thank you very much, and good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone, for making our opening night a very successful one. And we hope to see you the rest of the days. So thank you very much.